Okay, two stories, you know the drill. We have two stories. It's a bit windy. If it's too windy, I guess we just won't use this take. We have the pasta story coming up, but we're going to start with the, I don't have a good title for this one. We're just going to call it Life. It started on Sunday morning. I'm up early, and Sunday morning I make a big pot of roasted veggies. So I'm making the veggies on Sunday morning, and I have a little accident in the kitchen. I wind up cutting the tip of my thumb, my left thumb. Now, I done this one time earlier. Years ago, I was redoing the floor in my upstairs bathroom, and I chose, of all the tiles I found, I chose a vinyl tile instead of a ceramic. And so to cut those, you use an X-Acto knife, and so I was making my first cut, and as I cut it, I sliced the top of my left thumb, and it wouldn't stop bleeding. And later on that day, so I kind of wrapped it up, but it just kept bleeding. And I saw my neighbor, the one you saw dancing in Sarah's graduation dance video, Mrs. Quinn Anne Marie. She was dancing with her husband Brian, who we've talked about. She's a nurse, so we call her Nurse Quinn because we're clever like that. So she goes, what's the deal with your thumb? She saw the bandaging. I said, yeah, I cut it. And she looked at it. She goes, you got to get this taken care of. It's not going to stop bleeding because the cut was that deep. So I went in and got it taken care of. So on Sunday when I cut it, it wouldn't stop bleeding. So I just started making my roasted veggies. So what do? Do I continue with the roasted veggies? So I kind of bandaged it up the best I could, and I finished making the veggies, and I had to sort of wait for them to cook. There's an urgent care center right around the corner, and they opened it at 8 a.m. fortunately. So I went over there, and they took care of it. I'm not going to show it to you. It's just it's not bad. It doesn't hurt that bad, but they sent me an email, like they wanted me to rate their service, and they were fine. It took an hour and a half, but the woman, this isn't part of the rant. The woman, when I got there, she's wearing a mask, she's behind plastic, and there's music playing. There's a TV in the background, and she doesn't speak very loudly. And as she's talking, I'm straining, like, what do you hear? Mask, plastic, the TVs, I couldn't hear. So they want me to rate my experience. I thought the care was very good. Who wants to spend their morning at an urgent care center? Anyway, they took care of it, and in doing so, because of the cut, they gave me a tetanus shot. Now, if you've had a tetanus shot, they hurt. And my theory, tetanus shots should last 7 to 10 years. But when you need one, if you have to get one, they say, well, have you had one lately? I don't know. I've had them in the past. I remember one time when I was working at an office years ago, I had a tetanus shot, and my arm hurt. And one of my favorite people who I work with, Dave Orphan, came up to me and sort of slapped me in my upper arm. Mike, how's it going? And it was right at my shot. Ow. So here's my theory on tetanus shots. I think eventually people, generations, they'll implant a chip with medical information. Instead of saying, have you had a tetanus shot in the last 7, 10 years? They'll scan the chip. And, oh, you've had one 2 years ago, you don't need one. Because now, who knows? So what I've since done is, okay, so I don't turn 51 until next week. So I made a little note. Turned 50, I'm 50 years old, and I had a tetanus shot, so I'm good for the next 7 to 10 years, 57 to 6, I'm good. So anyway, so I got a tetanus shot. So that night, the next night, I'm sort of dealing with this thumb, which doesn't really hurt, but it's a little inconvenient to do certain tasks. Flossing, I use the tip of my thumb to floss, so that's kind of hard. And the hardest thing is fastening the seatbelt in the car. I really pushed down on my thumb, and so that was a bit of a mess. Anyway, so we got that taken care of and fine. Last week they came up with the new booster shots. They're now available. So last week I made an appointment to get one. Now the last time I had a booster, the shots themselves, didn't really faze me too much as the wind picks up. But my last booster, I remember last spring, I got it one day, and the next day, I was just knocked out. I usually do my workout at 10 a.m. and I remember going to Bella. I said, "We're not working out. We're taking a nap." That day, the day after my booster last spring, I was useless. It was just a wasted day. So I didn't really think about that when I made the appointment last Thursday or Friday. I thought I'll get it Tuesday, and I don't have to do it. When I made the appointment, it was several days away. Don't have to deal with it, and when it comes, you just go and go. So the only thing about getting the booster on Tuesday, I told them, I said, well, I just had a tetanus shot on Sunday and my arm still hurts. So I don't know if it matters which arm to get it in. And the guy goes, shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be, fine. So I get the booster, the booster, and of course now the arm hurts more. And I'm thinking, okay, so Wednesday will probably be just a loss of the day. Meantime, I've mentioned the fence. I could do a whole rant about the whole fence issue, but the short version is I want to replace other parts of my fence, not this fence, but other parts. So I talked to my neighbor yesterday, and she's in agreement. We're going to replace the fence. So I made some calls on Tuesday. So I got a guy coming out on Wednesday to look at the fence, and I'm thinking. It's just, do you ever have days where just everything goes right? It's like you make all the right decisions, you hit all the green lights, you feel like you can win the lottery. Everything just falls into place. And sometimes that feeling lasts for several days. And then other days you feel like you can't win. It rains and you're slogging through the mud. So with the accident on Sunday, and then the booster and the pain in the arm, and now dreading Wednesday, it just feels like, I don't know. I'm in one of those, there's like troughs and valleys. It feels like I'm in a valley this week. The good news. So Tuesday, I got the shot Tuesday morning. So I started feeling the effects Tuesday later in the day. The swollen glands, a little sore, the headaches, a little achy. And I realized that's good. That's what's supposed to happen when you get a booster, because your body is fighting it. So that's what's supposed to happen. Wednesday, I woke up and I feel good. I feel like if that was the worst of it, that was nothing on Tuesday. I sort of felt like it was sort of coming on, and I feel fine. So I'm ready for the fence guy today. The funny thing about all this is I spoke to Melissa on Tuesday night, and I told her this whole story. And I said, oh, by the way, I have this other story. It's a little nothing story. I said, maybe I'll save it for one of my 2-story videos, but I need a second story to go with it. It didn't occur to me that my real life story, cutting my finger and getting the tetanus shot and the arm sore, that was a story. Anyway, so this is a story. I think we called this one Life because we didn't have a good title. The fence story, that may be a rant for another day because that one would go on, but this is, that's life. Okay, so we have a quick update. The fence guy was just here. He comes from LFO, Lots of Fence Options, Lotsa, LOTSA, which I thought was something. I feel fine. I think the worst of the effects of the COVID booster were yesterday. I really felt good. In fact, I walked down to shoot the butterflies this morning, but there were only 2 butterflies. I forgot to mention that when I went to the urgent care center, they gave me 2 options. Well, the doctor considered 2 options. One was to put a glue on my thumb, or the other was to suture it. I said, suture? Suit yourself. She opted for the glue, so she put a glue on, which stopped the bleeding, and the glue itself will fall off in about 5 to 7 days. Okay, that's it. Coming up next, story number 2. The pasta story. Okay, as long as we're out here, and it's not too windy now, we'll continue with story number 2. And story number 2 is the pasta story. this is a little, very little nothing of a story. You wonder, why do you make a video about that? One note before we begin, when I say pasta, I realize that pasta covers all the pastas, but when I say the word pasta, I'm not referring to spaghetti. I'm referring to all the other pastas, specifically the rotini. I should probably do it. Rotinis or spirals, but not spaghetti. So I'm differentiating spaghetti, even though I know it's pasta, but spaghetti from all the rest of the pastas. Okay, so I make a spaghetti dinner, and that's I make a meat sauce, and at the same time I make pasta. And once they're both done, I put the pasta in the meat sauce, and I call that spaghetti. Even though I never use spaghetti, I use altogether pasta. Mark and Carol had my spaghetti pasta meal when they came through a couple years ago. And it's one of my faves, but I always use pasta, not spaghetti. And the pasta I prefer is a wheat-based, because it's supposed to be good for you. The only caveat is that at Aldi, where I do my grocery shopping, they don't sell the wheat-based pasta. They sometimes have wheat-based spaghetti, but I don't buy that because I prefer pasta for whatever reason. So the last time I made this recently, I was at the Aldi, and they don't look for the pasta. They don't have the wheat pasta. They do have the wheat spaghetti. And I say to them, pasta is pasta. Spaghetti, just get it. Get the spaghetti, and we'll make it different. And so what? It's no big deal. Fine. So I buy the wheat spaghetti. Now, when I do my grocery, I go to Lidl also, because sometimes the Aldi doesn't carry everything I want, like eggplants. Aldi does not carry eggplants during the summer, so I get them at Lidl. There's a Lidl literally across the street from the Aldi, so it's sort of part of my shopping routine. I go to Aldi to get most of my stuff, then I go to the Lidl. And then sometimes, in the vein of Grandpa, of Herman, I go to the Trader Joe's, because they have things that I can't get either ones. And then I go to a grocery store, the Giant, because that's where I get my pasta. The wheat-based pasta costs a little more, but they have what I want. So where we are in the story, I go to the Aldi, I get the spaghetti, the wheat-based spaghetti, because we're going to try new. Now I go to the Aldi. Now I go to the Lidl, sorry. So I'm shopping the Lidl, and I'm going through the pasta section, and they don't have the pasta, when I say pasta, the rotini or the shell that I usually get, but they have something different. And it's pasta made from peas, P-E-A-S. And I've tried it before. It's protein fortified, so in my mind, I don't bother reading the box, but in my mind, it's made from peas, and it's protein fortified, so I'm putting that above the regular white flour pasta. So, okay, so white flour pasta, then the Lidl stuff, the pea, the pea pasta with the protein, then the wheat-based pasta, whatever. So I say, and again, I've tried that before, and it was good, and I think I'm getting something better over the white flour one. So I'm thinking maybe I should get it because they have it. It's not what I want. It's a little more expensive than the regular pasta. And I said, you just bought the spaghetti at Aldi with the wheat. And so if you get the pea pasta, which sounds funny, you're not going to use, you already bought the spaghetti, the wheat, use that. Fine. So I get home, I go to make the spaghetti. And the thing about making my spaghetti dish is that I always use the pasta, usually a rotini or a shell. And so I know how much to put. Usually half a box sort of is the right blend with the meat sauce. There's not too much pasta, half a box, a third of a box. It seems to work out fine. Okay, so now I have this box of wheat spaghetti, and I don't know how much to put in. What is the, 1 pint equals 2 quarts? I don't know, no idea. And so I don't know how to cook. So I start with half a box. I'm making half a box. And I think, well, that doesn't look like very much. So I put a little more in. And now I have visions of the Lucy episode when Lucy and Ethel are baking the bread and the whole thing shoots out of the oven and traps them against the wall. Because I don't know how much to put in spaghetti because I always make the pasta. So I wound up using a little too much spaghetti because I don't know how much I should put in. The kicker is I love the spaghetti in my spaghetti. I don't think I'll ever go back. I don't know why, because sort of growing up having spaghetti as, eating spaghetti as a kid, and then changing to pasta and then getting used to pasta, and now going back to, I love the spaghetti. So I have a little left over, and I think I'm going to make the pasta, my spaghetti now, with actual spaghetti. That's it. 2 stories, life and Paschetti. I guess we'll see you next time right here on the YouTube.